Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Tipped. Max here with you for another episode of preseason content. This week, we talk about bounce back candidates. So without further ado, let's jump right into it with the forwards. First off, we have a natural goal scorer in Vladimir Tarasenko, who did bounce back only 2 years ago with career highs in assists and points after scoring 7 goals and playing only 34 games between 2019 and 2021. Tarasenko signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Ottawa Senators this offseason, and he will join a solid offensive team that matches youth and experience. He will have a chance to complete Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle on the first line, and even if he doesn't get the first line gig, he will still play with quality players such as Josh Norris, Drake Batterson, and Claude Giroux. He has 140 goal season to his active and 6 seasons over 33 goals. It's not crazy to think that he has the ability to hit 30 plus goals and 70 plus points this season. He's currently 17th all-time on the Russian points list and 12th all-time in goals for with 270. A 30-plus goal season would take him to the 300 club and bring him closer to the top 10 best Russian goal scorers of all time. Expect a big bounce-back season closer to his 2022 production. Up next is a guy I've never really been a fan of in real life, and I've never actually owned him in fantasy. But check out this pattern I figured out. 4 years ago, Bryan Rust compiled 56 points in 55 games. He followed that season with a 42-point campaign in 56 games. 2 years ago, he almost went back to a point per game with 58 points in 60 games. Last year was a down year where he only had 46 points in 81 games. Should the trend continue, we are looking at a 55 plus point season and maybe even more if he manages to stay healthy like last year. Even during his off years and injury-riddled seasons, he always manages to score 20 goals. He is a good fantasy depth player who either plays with Sidney Crosby or Yevgeny Malkin, so you don't have to worry about talent around him. And last year, he shot the puck 211 times. That's 31 more times than his career best. Unfortunately, his 9.5 shooting percentage was his worst. If he manages to get the puck on net just as often, he'll be flirting with 30 goals this season, and I also believe the addition of Erik Carlson will greatly help the Penguins' offense. Matt Duchene is 1 year removed from his best career season where he got 42 goals and 86 points. Fast forward 1 year later, the Predators' center/winger was bought out right before free agency. That was following a 22 goals, 56 point season in 71 games. Good for second in Nashville. Unfortunately, that wasn't good enough for Barry Trotz. The good thing for Duchene is he joins a Dallas Stars group who are inches away from Stanley Cup contention. They're always somewhat of an outsider when talking about dark horses, and year after year they deliver fantastic playoff performances. Pete DeBauer worked magic with a 33-year-old Jamie Benn, making him go from a 46-point player to a 78 points player. The same thing could happen to Matt Duchene, who will be well surrounded with the likes of veterans like Joe Pavelski, Tyler Seguin, Yevgeny Dadonov, and young guns Jason Robertson and Roope Hintz. A 70-plus point season might be looming around the corner if he remains healthy. If you watched the Breakout Candidates video, Connor Brown was the first guy I spoke about, and he actually makes both videos. I cannot stress enough how he could become the steal of the season. This guy is a model of consistency, always putting up 35 to 45 points, playing a great two-way games. He's compiled 17 shorthanded points in his career already, and is an underappreciated power play passer when given space. The thing is, he's never played with a Connor McDavid at the NHL level, and sky's the limit for real. His junior linesmate is hyped to play with him, and I think the coach will give him exactly what they both want. He's also an old teammate of Zach Hyman with the Leafs, who has a similar profile. A two-way guy who normally tops off at 20 goals, 40 points. In his first season with the Oilers, Hyman scored 27 goals and 54 points before shattering those records last year with 36 goals and 83 points. Connor Brown could go down the same road. Up next is Jonathan Drouin. I might be delusional for suggesting a player who scored 10 goals in the last 3 years in 136 games and missed a big chunk of time due to mental health issues, but Drouin is reuniting with his Memorial Cup teammate and established superstar Nathan MacKinnon. And if you look at the Avalanche's roster, it's really not that deep. On top of that, Gabe Landeskog is missing the entire season. Drouin has an opening in securing the first-line wing next to MacKinnon and Rantanen. He is lethal when given space, and even though he often forgets how to shoot the puck, he finds passing lanes with ease and sometimes spectacular fashion. Colorado has a very dangerous power play, and the addition of Drouin will only benefit the depth of their special team. If healthy and slotted properly, I'm looking at a 55-plus point season, and maybe even pushing past the 60 mark, and a positive differential for the first time since 2015-2016. Here's a risky pick in Tanner Jeannot. We'll go over both the pros and cons. In his first full season, Jeannot scored 24 goals with 41 points in 81 games. He followed that last year with a 6-goal, 12-assist, 18 points in 76 games during a disappointing season with both the Predators and the Tampa Bay Lightning. On top of that, he was traded for way too many picks and Cal Foote. Talk about an overpay. Anyways, Jeannot joined the Lightning in the middle of a terrible season, and it didn't end well because he scored 1 goal, 3 assists in 20 games down in Tampa. It's even riskier when you realize that he's only scored 12 goals in 94 AHL games before his breakout in 2020-2021, where he got 10 goals in 13 games. Just by the numbers, we see a lot of inconsistency in his career. Now, will he get top 6 minutes in Tampa? And if he does, will he replicate his rookie season's number? Or will John Cooper keep him as a strong bottom 6 guy to balance a not-so-deep offensive lineup? If you're in a Cats league, the mid-round risk is worth it due to his hits. But if you're in a points league only, I would be cautious. Now, here is my out-of-the-box pick in Sean Monahan. Before breaking his foot and playing with the broken foot during the trip in Western Canada last December, Sean Monahan was off to a great start with 17 points in 25 games in Montreal. The fans absolutely loved him in the short time frame he played, and he said he had chills every time he stepped onto the ice at the Bell Center. Can you believe it? A player who actually wants to play in Montreal and enjoys it during a rebuild? That's crazy. Daily Faceoff has him as the starting fourth-line center for this year, but I personally have him as the second-line center. These are only speculations, since preseason hasn't even started, but this is a PP1 guy who's highly and openly appreciated by not only the fans, but Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Before his nightmare ending in Calgary, Monahan had never scored under 22 goals in his first 7 seasons. The key point here is, if he can remain healthy and play at least 70 games, we are looking at a guy who can get you above 20 goals and eclipse the 50-plus point mark. He is really passing under the radar right now, and most managers won't touch him and are scared of taking a shot on him due to his injury history. I will be keeping my eyes on him during training camp and preseason, and you should too. I think he is a great late-round pickup. Now let's get on to defensemen. John Carlson played 40 games last year for the Capitals, and they went 20 wins, 16 losses, 4 OTLs. During the time he missed, the Capitals went 15 wins, 21 losses, 6 OTLs. That's how important he is to this lineup. He gets a possible new partner in Rasmus Sandin and a new power play threat in Max Pacioretty. His average ice time during the season was 23 minutes, 23 seconds, even at 33 years old. He is currently ranked as the number 16 fantasy defenseman by NHL.com. I, for myself, have him in the top 8 and would like to have him as my D2 in the best of worlds. Carlson should get back to a 60-plus point season, and the Caps should be back in playoff contention in no time. There's not much else to say but that he is the complete package in a fantasy defenseman, and he is surrounded by offensive weapons. Torey Krug had an abysmal season where he compiled 7 goals, 25 assists, 32 points in 63 games. Almost not even getting to a point every 2 games. On top of that, he was an horrendous minus 26, enough to make fantasy managers rip their hair out. With Tarasenko and O'Reilly out of St. Louis, you'd expect them to rebuild and be a lot worse than expected, but the additions of Kevin Hayes and Jakub Vrana, mixed with the growth of Thomas, Kyrou, Jake Neighbors, and the career resurgence of Kasperi Kapanen makes this team a possible dangerous dark horse for playoff wildcard spots. Krug should lead the way on PP1, and I do not see Scott Perunovich eclipse him on the depth chart, at least not until way later in the season, if it even happens. By the way, Daily Faceoff doesn't even have Perunovich in the starting lineup right now. If your league does have IR spots, Krug should be a great pickup. He's missed at least 18 games in every season since 2017-2018, but he has the numbers to show for it when he gets on the ice. Expect 45 points in 60 games, and if he can magically play a full season, we can expect at least 2 points every 3 games with over 20 power play points. Up next is Seth Jones. Minus 75 in the last 2 seasons since joining the Hawks. I mean, it cannot get any worse than that, can it? Connor Bedard and Taylor Hall just arrived to help out the power play. The same one Seth Jones will be quarterbacking. Yes, the Hawks have no depth. Yes, their defense is part of the worst tier in the league. But Seth Jones has to bounce back this year. He's only 28 years old and should be entering his prime years. I see a 12 to 18 goal season, and he should be getting between 50 and 65 points, with a much better differential. He should still see the negative, but not enough to ruin your fantasy week every week. Take a chance on Seth Jones if you decided to load up with offense early on and the top 12D is gone. And finally, one of my favorite players in the show, Zach Werenski. I missed him dearly last year. I love this guy's skating. I love the way he finds openings. I love the way he finds passing lanes. And his one-on-one defensive play is really underrated. Just a consistent guy who brings his A game every night. He hasn't played under 22 minutes 35 seconds since his sophomore year. Last year, he scored 3 goals, 5 assists, good for 8 points in 13 games before suffering a season-ending injury. I believe he will get back to his PP1 spot, but this time around, he'll have Johnny Hockey, Patrick Laine, and possibly Adam Fantilli with him. Not only a bounce-back candidate, but why not a career year? Expect 15 plus goals and above 60 points this season, of course, if he can stay healthy. Remember, this is a defenseman who isn't afraid to shoot, and he has scored 20 goals in 63 games back in 2019-2020. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Before I let you go, here are some names that I am not touching. Jonathan Huberdeau, Andrew Mangiapane, Jacob Markstrom, Basically, anything that touches the Flames is hot garbage in my opinion. Sure, they have a new coach, but they also have guys who don't even want to play in Calgary. And it for sure might reflect in their game. Unless Huberdeau falls way back, I'm not taking a chance on him. Mason Marchment is another guy most media are pushing as bounce-back candidate. But the fact of the matter is the Dallas Stars are way too deep, and he might not get as many opportunities as he would elsewhere. Trevor Moore is another guy who should see the same stat lines as last year, maybe a little progress. But I've never seen him as a big point getter, so I don't really have high hopes. Alex DeBrincat will have a good season, I'm sure. I just think that at his ADP, there are better options with more peripherals. On that note, I wish everybody a good week. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you guys soon.